Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to Eye on the Tigers. I am Bryce,
I'm Reese.
and we are part of the Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Make sure to follow us off the _ Dome Pod, but most importantly, make sure to follow at Be in the Know. The Know Network is where you're finding Eye on the Tigers right now. We're very happy and blessed to welcome our special guest today, Sherman Wilson, who is the Director of Player Retention for the LSU football Fighting Tigers, and a guy we've been excited to follow on social media daily as well as talk to today. So, Sherman, how you doing?
Doing well. Actually getting ready for summer workouts and just getting everyone acclimated. Just had some of our new enrollees, summer enrollees, to get kind of finalized and be in school today. So getting that ball rolling. Then obviously, we have camps, official visits in the summer. So the summer is really hectic. It's not a vacation for anyone in college football right now.
never empty plate for LSU football.
No.
I mean, as a program who has built its reputation on recruiting and retaining their players and fighting for a championship year in and year out, you've kind of built that brand and reputation not only for yourself but doing it for the school. So for me, my first question to you is: you're born and raised in Louisiana. You grew up, I mean, within an hour of campus, and now you're here wearing the purple and gold, getting to go to the campus every day and do what you love. What's it like being a Louisiana boy, being able to work for LSU football?
A dream come true. I'll say this. It never gets. Sometime you realize, or sometime you're not paying attention to it, or you just overlook it. But once you walk in the stadium, you kind of understand the full gist of the full moment, the magnitude of working at LSU. But growing up, I'm 35 now. I'll be 36 in August. Started this journey a long time ago. But God has been good to me. My mom and dad, my grandmother, who all in church, raised me in church. And so I always lean on my faith. You always hear me talk about that. Any player I mentor will talk about that, because I think that's like my duty on this earth, is just to, draw individuals closer to Christ. And so I don't want to, push it on them, but give them that choice. But that's what I'm really rooted in. But this journey has been amazing. I enjoy it. As I get older, obviously, I bask in it more and more. That I work at LSU, I think one of the best 3 universities, best 3 jobs of all sports, not just amateur, but also professional, because we have the opportunity to attract the best athletes in the world. And that's every sport, not just like being here is not just football, baseball, basketball, softball, women's basketball, track and field, volleyball, beach volleyball, golf, tennis, any sport that you want to think of, cross country, any sport you want to think of, we excel in it, and we have superior athletes. Even from an education standpoint, LSU is one of the best universities in the country. So I just don't want to highlight the athletics, but just like as I drive up here sometime and you see the stadium to your right as you turn, and you go across those train tracks. I remember when I was a high school coach, bringing student athletes up here from AMET, Louisiana, Hammond, Louisiana. I took it for granted when we crossed those tracks. When they were building a new facility, it was like, you park across the street from the facility, and it just was something that you did. It was a routine every summer. And so to be in the situation I am now is truly a gift from God. And so I just try to shine a light on him every step of the way. And so I enjoy it every day. It is kind of hectic, but I was saying this last week to one of our players, I thrive in chaos. And that's what pretty much college recruiting is. It kind of gets a little better when you get to the junior and senior year of some of these student athletes, because they've, come full circle and they're a little more calm and make better decisions. But in a role I'm in now, the goal is to keep our student athletes happy, excited, well-rounded, focused. So it's not just, keeping them out of the portal. Like, that's not the goal of my role here. It's really to just grow them improve them, push them, keep them focused, like I said, and keep them motivated and determined to reach their goal.
Yeah. The facilities at LSU are amazing. I know I was in high school football. We had some rainouts going into our championship game, and Coach Ogeron invited us in to play to practice in the indoor facility. And it was amazing just looking into the weight room from the practice field. It was awesome. But to speak to your journey, coaching defensive backs and being a defensive coordinator at AMET in Albany, like how does that transition into a college recruiter?
I would say this: I think individuals should always pursue their gifts, not really their dreams. Which I think your gift is something that you do with the least amount of effort, and it's what you wake up and just roll out of bed and have the ability to do. And I think that ability is I can relate to anyone at any time. And because of that, I started out in college, in high school, football, and it was great. Like it was a good gig. I was at Hammond. I finished Southeastern with my bachelor's, was pursuing my master's online, and just broke into it because of relationships, because of people I met, and it was fun, but it wasn't a love of mine. And so I would always get tired out. And so what I would always do is every summer I would take my student athletes to whatever camps, and I would shake hands, network while they were, camping. After games on Friday, I would drive up. It didn't matter where it was. Missouri. It did 8 hours, 9 hours. I would drive up, and bring those student athletes to those games, because I think that's their reward, right? They would put their bodies on the line on a Friday night after a whole week, and being in classrooms. And the thing is, like, every last one of them it's not a real chance of them going to the NFL or even playing college football, but they can realize the opportunity of going to college and getting a degree and starting a life, a family. And so that's what I always pushed them. That's why I was in school while I was coaching. Got the opportunity to go and interview at Southern University, which is, I think it's a turning point, right, in my life. I interviewed at Southern University, I think it was 2017, for a receiver coaching job, which I absolutely bombed, which I ended up drawing curl flat backwards. Dawson Odoms, who was the head coach then, Chinnisberry, who's the offensive coordinator, they took it easy on me. They kind of waited till I left out and laughed. But my personality captivated them. It caught their attention, and they realized I can catch a room. I can keep a room locked in and focused. And so Chinnisberry, I remember he's now the head coach, I think, at South Carolina State. He was the head coach at Benedict and won a lot of games there. And he was we started out kind of rocky because I would always challenge everyone in recruiting, and it just wasn't something that was a norm because of the lack of whatever we had at Southern University. But we tried, we bust our butt. He came outside after the interview and just told me to keep my head up. Now, at that point, I didn't know what he was talking about. And so I left out, and I think I kept coming up there for camps. Every year I would come up there for camps. And a year later, Dawson Owens reached out to me and told me, hey, look, I don't have much, but I do have this recruiting position that we're trying to start. Would you be interested at? And I was like, absolutely. Because before that year, I was working at AMET. I was a paraprofessional in a middle school, and I was really changing diapers of adult students who were severe profound, autistic kids, which I loved. It taught me values in life. It taught me to love every moment, which you don't know, to never take anything for granted. And so those years where people say, oh, you was changing diapers and all that, but it humbled me. It prepared me for the tough times in life, and to keep pushing if this is something you really want to go after it. And so it's kind of the same thing I instill in the student athletes that I try to mentor and try to push on a daily basis, that if this is something that you really, really want, like, I'm a testament of that happen. I'm not super talented in anything. I can't run fast. I'm 5'8", but if you put everything into it, I think you'll get something out of it. And I think it will be worth it in the end, but you just got to keep going. You can always improve. You can always grow. You can always, and so he offered me the position. Dawson Odom did, and so I took the role. And after being there like a week, we was in a staff meeting. And it was like, we can finally tell you now. And I'm like, what y'all talking about? And they told me the whole joke of me writing and drawing curl flat backwards. And they kind of say, man, I don't know why you didn't pursue it. I said, because it just wasn't, that moment told me that I wasn't willing to put the work in for it. Like, I could have been good at it if I studied, but it wasn't something that was a desire of mine. I desired relationships. I desired building relationships and growing people. I enjoy when people achieve their goals. Like, that gets me excited, right? That I can push them to a limit, and then let's see if we can challenge that limit. And because I think we're all limitless. I don't think there's barriers on us, because if you think about it, years ago, decades ago, nobody thought we could fly. And now we fly all the time. I hate flying. I'm scared of flying. But I flew a lot in the last few months, obviously, because of my relationship with Jayden. But I catch the bus to the games, away games. I do not fly to our games because I'm a control freak. I can say that. And so flying in a plane, the pilot has control. And so but I'm getting over that. I'm challenging myself to get over that. But that was the start of it in 2018. And at Southern University, we bused every game. So we didn't fly. So we bused every game. And so our first year there in 2019, we had the number one recruiting class in HBCU history.
Wow.
Obviously, I think Dion kind of broke that a few years later. But and then the second year, we had the second or third best, according to Box to Row. I believe that's what the website was, Box to Row. And so that we played the University of Memphis in 2019. Yeah, 2019. And I had the opportunity to shake some hands, meet some people, build some relationships. Mike Norvell, his staff, Ryan Selfield, who's the current head coach. And around that time, maybe December, I had a tragic, obviously, COVID was starting to, and my grandmother had cancer. She had cancer for about 10 years, 12 years. She fought it. And she succumbed to cancer in December. I was on the way actually driving to her funeral, and I got the call from Memphis about an opportunity. And, I prayed about it, talked to my family about it. And it was a lesser opportunity, but it's an opportunity for me to break through. And so I always say, challenging yourself, don't run from it. If this is something you really want, it's going to show up. And when it shows up, right, are you going to take it? Are you going to attack that challenge? Otherwise, just don't ask for it. And so got the opportunity, and I remember getting into the role, and it was less than what I thought. But because I wanted to break into big-time college football, I had to take it. Getting to Memphis, I remember getting there, and I was making like $10 an hour, I think, $8 to $10 an hour. Living in Memphis, paying a car note, paying rent, paying insurance, and then COVID hits. And so typically that would shake or rattle someone's fate. But I remember they started laying off employees who were all salary workers. And I remember thinking, you know what, I think God protected me because I got that job, got a salary job, and it probably laid me off about a month into it. And so the head coach, Ryan Silverfield, would always help me. He'd always bless me. He'd always look out for me. So I owe him a lot for that because I got through that year and was able to prosper. And we had the number one recruiting class in the school's history, according to 247. And that kind of catapulted me to the opportunity of being at Louisiana Tech with Joe Sloan, with Skip Holtz, Paul Turner, Trey Holtz, who's now here. We didn't have the best season, probably the worst season of the tenure of Skip Holtz, who I think is a great coach. And they went in separate ways. I actually had the chance to stay with the new coach, Sonny Cumbie. A great opportunity, but obviously, and I got the opportunity to go to LSU, and so you don't turn that down. As I say, a Louisiana animal, a native of this state, South Louisiana. But I'll backtrack a little bit. That's when I got to Memphis, I had the opportunity to do the Nunn-Wooten Fellowship with the Los Angeles Rams in a scouting room. That because I wanted to know more outside of just recruiting. I wanted to learn scouting techniques. I wanted to learn what they see from the NFL level, so I can bring that to what I'm looking for from the high school. Obviously, it'll be a little different, but it will give me something to look for when if they're good enough at this age, they're going to be good enough, moving forward. And so those are the best players, right? But as I learned over time, it's really mindset. Like the talent's the talent. Like they're going to be talented. The coaches are going to put them in position. The ones that make it are the ones that refuse to quit. They have you got to find out what's their response to adversity, because it's going to get tough. You're going to walk into a building where you're not the best player anymore. How do you respond to that? And so I think it's Mike Tyson that say everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face or hitting them out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you respond to getting hit in the face? That's who you want. You want that because, as I say, there's predators and there's apex predators. Like growing up, I know we all watched Free Willy and we watched Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back now, those two stories were totally different than what they really are. The orca kills great whites, flips them on their belly, I think, for their kidneys, I think it is, livers.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. We were trying to Free Willy. And they killed more human beings than what I think any water living at. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
That's insane. But we wanted to Free Willy. I don't think they have any more of those movies out. And so that's how you look at it, right? When you look for pit bulls. They're great players, and then they're pit bulls. And the reason I liken them to pit bulls, because no matter where you stay, it's only one animal that apartment complex refuse to let you have. You can have a Rottweiler, you can have a Doberman, you can have a cane Corso. You cannot have a pit bull. Why? Because pit bull, when they're hungry, they're gonna bite their owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to be able to control that, but they'll protect you at all costs. And if you can handle a pit bull, you want one. But most people don't only want it could be mixed with something. They're gonna run from it. And so that's what you want. You want that type of player. You want that type of mindset. You want that type of thought process. And so that's what I learned from the college, mixing the college football with the NFL scouting, right? And so because I think that's near perfect as possible. What is their mindset? What is their response to adversity? And so got to LSU obviously in 2022. Yeah, 2022, January 2022. Just finished with the Rams. I had the opportunity to win a Super Bowl. Blessed to receive a Super Bowl rank from being there. I was with the Rams for 3 years. Learned some great tactics, great abilities, and again, I'm in debt to them for that, for giving me a chance at that. And so was able to fly out. That was the second time I might have flew in my entire life. It was when I flew to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
The third time was when I flew to the Super Bowl ring ceremony in LA. And so that was around the time me and Jayden got really close. Helped recruit him. But he had something in him that just was different. And it was, it's the first Cali person I've ever recruited in my life. But obviously I was first time of being at LSU. And so it's obviously the recruiting is different, but it was a blessing with Mike Denbrock, Brian Kelly, Frank Wilson, Joe Sloan, Matt Frakes, Jake Flint, Jazz, Dr. Owner, like everyone else here, the receivers, obviously the offense, the O-line. I got to go on and on about, everyone. His mom, Regina Jackson, played a very important role, right, with his growth, development, him maturing as a male. This place was different for him. And watching him in year 2, being alongside him for that development, attacking everything, because no matter what, that's the part that I say is their response to adversity. When he was given a plan by Coach Kelly and Coach Sloan, Coach Denbrock, he attacked it. He could have chose not to. At the end of 2022 season, he could have went to the draft. He'd have probably been a 4th or 5th round pick after a great pro day. He decided to come back in year 5 and put the work in, improved his body, improved his eating habits, his speed. But it was more so he watched so much tape. He watched his opponents to the fact that he knew their first move and then their counter move. And when you know the counter move, that's it. Yeah. Nobody has a third move. And so he knew what they were going to do, and he knew their response to what he was going to do. And so then everything, and then it was also the thought process of what the offense was built around him, and then him just letting the ball fly. I remember there was a moment in Mississippi State game where he just let it go. A lot of that was a testament in his, dedication to Greg Brooks, Jr., who was a great. He was a part of that recruiting class, that transfer recruiting class in 2022, also, who laid the foundation to what we are now. And so, it's a tremendous love for him. We'd all hang together all day, probably 15 to 18 hours a day. We were all together, and that's kind of what allowed us to flourish right now. I don't think we'd be where we are right now if it wasn't for Greg Brooks and Jayden. And so, you always see me with the hoodie for the draft. I had the hoodie on. Jayden had the hoodie on for the pro day. It's going to be someone we'll continue to honor as he continues to fight. And so, I would be remiss without even talking about him, because he was the first kid I've ever recruited in my life when I was at Southern University. He was coming out of high school out of West Jeff. Mm-hmm. And so the full circle moment was him, going to the portal from Arkansas and getting to be here, and just laying that foundation, what it is to be a Louisiana animal and what it is to be born here, what it means to play and run out in Tiger Stadium. Was, again, I was never that good. I'm never going to lie to you. I was really bad as a high school player. Katrina kind of ended something that should have ended a long time ago in my senior year, and that was my first probably adverse moment ever. We had to move to Pensacola, Florida, and my dad would travel every Sunday like 3 hours to see us from New Orleans because he's in OPD. Wow. And he taught me hard work. He taught what it means. If you really want something, you make it happen. There's no excuses. There's nothing to hide behind. Go get it. Go do it. And so those are, the pillars of my life, the foundation of my life. And so I kind of push that into what I do on a day-to-day basis. Like give praise to God, thank him, put both feet on the ground and work hard. Just outwork the day. I don't focus on anyone else. I'm never going to say outwork everyone. My only opponent is myself, my flesh, my thought process, my laziness. If I could be the best version of me, I'm gonna unlock gifts that was given to me at birth. All I gotta do is run my race. And so along the path, I'll run into some great people. We'll either link for a time, a season, and then you keep going on a journey. And so I'm just, like I said, enjoying this moment. Hopefully I ain't do too much, say too much.
No, I mean, it's awesome. The main themes of what you talk about there is relationships, and it's not only you building relationships with others and you enjoying those relationships, but them reciprocating them as well. I mean, your relationship with God is something that's very important to me as well. I know to Reece. So I really respect that. And I love that you're not afraid to show that, because it's something that a lot of people are afraid to show nowadays. And I really respect that you're not. You talk about your relationship with Jayden. I mean, for him to be able to point you out in a Heisman speech, I mean, he only gets so many minutes that he can talk. And he went so far as to say your name and say how important you were to his journey. So it speaks to who you are as a person. And speaking about relationships, something I think that's very interesting is when we're looking at recruiting and scouting right now for LSU, you see guys like Keelan Moses and Bryce Underwood who are basically recruiting the university that they've already committed to. And they're creating relationships with future commits. And you see hometown guys like Harlem Berry, who's from New Orleans, and they're creating relationships amongst each other to make sure that they can bring in not only Louisianans like you talk about, but people from all across the country to make sure that LSU succeeds far into the future. What's it like for you as a recruiter, seeing the people you're recruiting also wanting to recruit? So it's becoming this long line of just bringing people into this university.
And I know we really can't comment too much on, future, but
right.
Definitely will speak to what it means to me in this state. Anytime you can get a player from this state, you look at, I think we still per capita have the number one athletes, number one players in the NFL. We're first
Absolutely.
per capita and athletes per person, something per population to the extent. We just produce a lot. But I would say the number one thing is we're go-getters. We're hard workers. We're going to put our head down and go get what we need to get by any means necessary. And so when you go get a player like this, I will say this, you don't want to be on the other side of it. You want to have more of them than they have of And so
Yeah.
if not, you're in trouble. And so I've always, because that's where I grew. This is where I grew up at. This is the dream, the goal was to be here, to finish here, to be here as long as possible, because I get the opportunity to create opportunities for others who want to live this, who really want this, who this place bleeds. They bleed purple and gold. It's not just they're just here to use it, to use the shield, to use the emblem, the logo. No, like it matters. Like when they make plays, they look up into the stands for their grandparents, great grandparents who couldn't. Like I never could afford to go to a LSU game. I couldn't. And so to be able to be in a stadium now is a blessing. I always say this though: I'm never in a stadium on game days. Most people don't know that. Anyone that knows me as if I've ever recruited or built a relationship with them, when the games, I'm there pre-game when the recruits are there. When the game starts, I watch the game from Frank Wilson's office in the facility, because I'm like a nervous parent. Can't be on the side. And two, it's because I really want to watch the all 22, and I can't see that from the field. Right. I think once the game starts, the only people that's in that stadium are fans, players, and coaches, and I'm none of the three. And so I just want to see everything and see it in real time and live, and I just can't see it from ground level. I'm not going up through that stadium into skybar. I'm not doing all that. I love the comfort of sitting like in this room right here and just watching. And so that gives me real time opportunities to just evaluate, see movement. And it allows me to be calm and not be as nervous. It's nerve wracking. Y'all know that. Y'all watch the games. But when you're so close to the student athletes, it's even, it gets you even more. And so I don't want to project that nervousness onto them during the game. And so I just remove myself and I just sit back and watch, because I think at that point it's time for them to put on a show.
Yeah. Before I let Reece ask this next question, I just want to say, as somebody who has 2 degrees from LSU, you talking about the passion that you have for this university just absolutely fires me up. Like I bleed purple and gold for you to talk about that, not only about yourself, but the people you want in the building, that's who we need and that's who we want. And I know as a fan, it fires me up. So I'm glad to hear that. Go ahead, Reece.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on what your job is today. Like your title is director of player retention. Like, does that mean that you're not as much on the recruiting trail, or are you just building relationships with the guys that are in the building?
I think it's you're always recruiting. Like I would never say I'm gonna stop recruiting, because I think that's an advantage for our opponents. And so I'm never gonna say that. That's never gonna happen. Anybody that's recruiting against us, I am still here. I ain't going nowhere, and I'm enjoying it. It's 24/7. Like it doesn't stop. No, that's never gonna happen. But the focus now with the shift in college football and with the dynamics of college football is now the most important student athletes are the ones on your team right now. And so the goal, my role is to help grow them to be the people that there's the man, the husband, the father, the community member, the student athlete, the best of their abilities. And so it's I have to push them. I have to motivate them. I have to mentor them. And so it's a day-to-day thing. But I am still involved in recruiting. I'm still communicating with recruits. It's that doesn't stop. But I've taken on a bigger role with the relationship of the current players, because that helps with recruiting. Like you got to win games, and in order to do that, we all have to be on the same page with how we develop these student athletes.
Yeah, and man, I love that. Oh, just fires me up. Like I said before. Last question before we let you go. You're talking about the current roster. You're talking about the role you play with those relationships. You see in the 2024 NFL draft, we lose 2 of the best receivers in school history. I mean, arguably the best one in Middle League neighbors, a hometown guy in Brian Thomas, who led the FBS in touchdowns. You lose the Heisman-winning quarterback in Jayden Daniels, who fans went from feeling unsure about in the 2022 season to them being the guy in 2023. Jayden Daniels, an absolute fan favorite. So you lose those 3 guys. You lose 3 different defensive starters later in the draft. What does that turnover look like in the building? And who are those guys we can look out for the LSU fans to see on the field in 2024 that are going to make an impact?
I always, not again. I'm a big believer, right? What is it? I think it's 20 years, since 2000. I think we're the only university to have all 4 of our head coaches compete in the SEC championship game.
Wow.
We have 3 of them have won a national championship. We've not replaced, but we've replenished is a better word at the receiver position. We grow them on trees. And so while we can't replace the production, our team's going to be really solid. Our team's going to be really good because 2 years ago, I don't think a lot of people would have said Brian Thomas Jr. would have been a first-round pick.
Right.
And Malik, 2 years ago, I don't think people would have said Jayden Daniels should have been but I think the development, the growth, the ascension from the staff, from the coaches, from the off-the-field staff, the recruiting staff, the development staff, the strength staff, everybody moving, rowing the boat in the same direction led to what we had in the draft. And I think it'll even grow greater this year. This will be year 3. And so in year 3, you'll have Nussmeier, you'll have Kyron Lacey, you'll have Xavier Thomas, who was arguably one of the best punt returns in our conference 2 years ago, who's a homegrown student athlete. You'll have the opportunity to have some of our freshmen. You'll have Chris Hilton, who is 4'2", jumps, 7-foot jumper. We add a little spice, sometimes you need a little seasoning in that gumbo, something a little different with CJ Daniels, who's a 1,000-yard receiver at Liberty and 10 plus touchdowns. And so like the receiver position we're going to be okay. We got Cortez Hankton on that. We going to be, who is also a Louisiana himself. And you got Paul Turner in that room who played at LSU and transferred to La Tech. So the worry, it ain't coming from the receiver room. Like we've had the Jarvis, the Odells, the DJ Chalks. We've had the Michael Claytons, the Devery Hendersons. We've had Malik, BT, Jamar, Justin, Terrace. We've even Keyshawn Boutte. We're going to be okay in the receiver room. We're going to be okay in the quarterback room. We have Nussmeier, you have Ricky, you have Colin Hurley. We're going to be okay. And obviously, 25 is coming. And so you look forward to that. But this season is the defensive line. You've seen the signings we've had. But again, we have Dominic McKinley, who's 6'5", who's a true freshman who was born here.
Yeah.
Who's 300 plus pounds. Like you have Gabe Relaford, you have Deshaun Womack, like Swinson. Like we have Tank. Like we have the players. And I know it's a lot of unknowns, but in 2022 it's a lot of unknowns. 2023 we started the season with a lot of unknowns.
Right.
It's just have faith. We're gonna get there. We're gonna surprise. I can't guarantee anything, but I know this: the team is gelling. This is probably the closest we've been because you're going to year 3. The foundation is here. We appreciate and we're thankful for Jayden and for Malik, BT. And now it's an opportunity for Kyron. Now it's an opportunity for Chris. Now it's an opportunity for Aaron Anderson. Like you still got Jelani Watkins, who is probably one of the fastest high school athletes. Colin Billiard, Kyle Parker. Like it's endless. Like we Trey Day's the tight end. Kamora and Pimpton. These are 2 6'6" tight ends. Mason Taylor, who won the Bama game. Like we got Mac Markwood. We have talent. Josh Williams coming in at running back. Caleb Jackson, Caden Durham. We have stable. The deck is stacked. With talent, we have the 2 best tackles in the country.
Absolutely.
Completely agree there. Yeah.
And so the O-line's not like we return all our starters except DJ Chester, who had an opportunity in the game, Missouri game, the CLA game for us with a big block. And so therefore we're going to move human beings now. And so there's going to be different ways we do it, but this is still LSU. And our fans need to understand this is still LSU. We ain't crumbling. We ain't giving up. we're going to be okay. And so as long as we keep the foundation the same as it's always been, where a higher percentage of our student athletes are from here, are from neighboring states, the East Texas, the West Mississippi, South Arkansas, the Bayou, a little bit of South Alabama, into Pensacola. Like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be just fine. And so the fans, I know there's worried, but go out and buy them season tickets. Go out and fill that stand. Get the 102,000, which we got some plans for that stadium.
Yeah,
they're remodeling, and so that stadium's gonna be rocking when we play Nichols. But we gotta go out there to Las Vegas first, and we gotta play a really good football game. And we're going to, because we're gonna be prepared. Like, Coach Kelly's gonna have us ready, and the strength staff is gonna have us ready. The nutrition staff. The thing about it is, and I always say this is LSU. This is a top 3 job, a top 3 opportunity in the country on any level. And so long as we go out there and we get a chance to tie our cleats and strap our helmets, they put their helmets in their pants and shoulder pads on the same way we do. And so I like having doubts. You're gonna see, like, it's gonna be exciting. I'm excited about it, as you can see. And I'm holding back because I don't want to be on him, make guarantees. But again, nobody last year thought that we had a Heisman quarterback.
Right.
We did. We saw the work. Yeah. We saw the work being put in, and the work's being put in now. Like, we got Corey Raymond back. We got Bo Davis. We got Blake Baker. Like, we gonna be okay. Like, we've solved, and we're solving, and we're correcting issues that, we lost 3 games each last season, and it's little minute details. And that's the thing that Coach Kelly, thrives on, is attention to detail. And so once we correct that, then what? Then you still got to spot that football.
Yeah.
You spot that football, I like us. I like us, and I can't wait.
Yeah, before we let you go, I just want to give you your flowers, because going into this interview, I really didn't understand what a recruiter was. And just to know that a guy that bleeds purple and gold, a faith-filled man that's building other men to be great husbands, great leaders, I'm just excited that you're in the building.
Yes, yeah. I appreciate it. I'm serious. Every day, it's trials and tribulations. Nothing's easy, right? But it's not hard. We have a choice. It might be tough, but I always tell them, like, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes daily, but I love this journey, and you have to enjoy the process, not the outcome. The process is what molds you, and you just keep resetting, because it's, as long as I can I'm 10 toes down, like, I'm improving. And if that's the goal, you'll reach levels and meet people and touch people and open doors that you never realized, never thought you could.
Yeah, I'm wearing a jacket and I got chills. Like, this is phenomenal. I'm ready to run through a brick wall for this team. And I know you said you're not making guarantees, but I will. Playoffs, here we come. That's how it's feeling right now.
That's the goal. That's not, that's not making it. That's the goal. This place is different now. So
the thing is we've seen it within the last 5 years. We've tasted it. Fans have seen it. The players in the building have seen it. Coaches have seen it. There is expectations when you put on the purple and gold. And by the way you're talking, we have big ones, but we're not expecting them to fall short. And we know with guys like you in the building that there's no doubt that those expectations can be a reality in a very, very short amount of time. So we really appreciate this time. We really appreciate you being honest, being truthful, showing who you are. And I know the people watching this are going to love listening to you talk, and they're going to want more of you. So, once we make the playoffs, once we win the national championship, we'll talk to you again. And people can really listen to how you feel. And
looking forward. Listen, I'm looking forward to it. And
absolutely,
to all our fans, you all keep supporting us. We're gonna keep pushing. I guess it's the fans, our student body, our alum. They motivate, and as long as they trust and believe, and we're gonna keep pushing. We have goals. We relish the opportunity to compete. Like I said, looking forward to it.
There's no school like LSU. There's no place like Death Valley, and there's no colors like purple and gold. Sherman, again, we want to thank you so much for everybody watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe here on The Know. Follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Social media is always changing, but we'll always be here at Be in the Know. Make sure to follow us personally off the_Dome Pod. You have been watching Eye on the Tigers with Sherman Wilson. I'm Bryce.
And I'm Reese.
And we'll see you next time.
Appreciate y'all.